So this morning, Judge Shukura Ingram has recused herself from the YSL trial. Here's why. It's 2 pages. It'll be real quick. So on or about June 1st, 2023, Christian Eppinger, one of 18 defendants, was severed from the ongoing YSL RICO trial on the criminal action that was recently transferred to this court by random assignment. Although there's no severance order in the record, the court was apprised of the circumstances that directly led to Eppinger's severance. More specifically, the deputy assigned to and responsible for the courtroom and personal security of the undersigned for nearly 6 months was arrested. Said deputy, who was still assigned to this court at the time of her arrest, is accused of 1. Colluding with defendant Eppinger during the current trial to commit a felony, and 2. Endangering the safety of citizens within the Fulton County Courthouse. And then she cites her case in the footnote here. Because this court's former assigned deputy could be called as a witness in any future proceedings in this case, the court may be called upon to assess this deputy's credibility or rule on matters related to her criminal prosecution. This may undermine the public's confidence. So the reason here is ensuring public confidence. This court may have to assess something that there may be a conflict of interest, even just an appearance of one. So because we want to not undermine the public's confidence in the impartiality of this proceeding, I'm going to recuse. While the court does not regard the aforementioned situation as creating any actual bias for or against any party to this case, the court does view this as a matter that could cause a reasonable person to question the court's impartiality and reasonably give rise to the appearance of impropriety should the court remain on this case. Rule 211 of the Georgia Code of Judicial Conduct provides that judges shall disqualify themselves in any proceeding in which their impartiality might reasonably be questioned. Commentary 2 to that rule provides that judges should disclose on the record or in open court information that the court believes the parties or their lawyers might consider relevant to the question of disqualification, even if they believe there is no legal basis for disqualification. So thus, after she's carefully considered and consistent with this rule, promoting public confidence in the independence and impartiality of the judiciary, and also Rule 211A, requiring disqualification when the public might reasonably question a judge's impartiality, the undersigned hereby recuses herself from this criminal action. The clerk of court is directed to reassign this criminal action to another judge, so ordered this 17th day of July 2024, and then signed off here. So this was Joseph Bapp and Thugger Daly were on this right away. And currently, it still shows that Shukura is the one assigned, so we'll get an update on that today, I'm sure. And then just as some FYI, if you wanted to know more on this backstory, what was going on with this deputy, here was an article about it from June 9th of 2023 by Joseph Bapp. So you see Christian Eppinger here in the picture, and it says, "Look at me, baby. Relationship between deputy, YSL defendant detailed in warrant. He bought her a birthday card. She rubbed his back and said, 'Look at me, baby,' when she felt he needed comforting. They exchanged messages and smiled at each other when they thought nobody else was watching. They were both involved in the Young Slime Life trial, he as a defendant and she as a deputy in the courtroom where the trial was being held. Now they are both in the Fulton County Jail. A warrant issued by the Fulton County Sheriff's Office to search and seize the computer of an attorney revealed details about the alleged relationship between Deputy Akiba Stanley, who has since been fired and arrested, and Christian Eppinger, whose case has been severed from the trial. Stanley fostered an inappropriate relationship with Eppinger by visiting his cell and allegedly conspiring with one of his relatives to deliver prohibited items, the sheriff's office said in a statement. The warrant notes a series of instances indicating a relationship. Eppinger had been using his attorney's laptop to message people via Instagram. In May, deputies deduced one of their colleagues was apparently among them. According to the warrant, an investigator with the sheriff's office saw Eppinger type a message, smile and look at Stanley, who then typed something on her Apple Watch before smiling at Eppinger. This happened several times, the warrant said. An investigation later confirmed Eppinger was messaging with the deputy by connecting their social media accounts back to them. Other instances demonstrated an inappropriate relationship. Eppinger had bought Stanley a birthday card from the jail commissary in April. The next month, after a scuffle between a different officer and Eppinger, Stanley allegedly stood by and did not assist in detaining Eppinger, while other deputies did so. Instead, according to the warrant, Stanley rubbed Eppinger's back and said, "Look at me, baby." According to the warrant, Eppinger's lawyer, Eric Johnson, is accused of being a co-conspirator and allowing his client to message people using his laptop. Jojo Glanville severed the case due to conflict of interest and potential security concerns. A hearing on the matter is scheduled, and this was last year. And then Stanley ended up being arrested and was granted a $1 million bond. She had started working at the Fulton County Sheriff's Office in October of 2022 after being fired from the Atlanta Police Department in 2018. And then Stanley had been on probation for 12 months in April of 2020, following a series of complaints lodged against her by citizens during her time with the Atlanta PD. But she had to complete an ethics and professionalism course, and those courses fix everything. And so, yeah. So that's Stanley's story. That's Miss Stanley's story. But because Shukura Ingram worked in the same courtroom, she was a deputy in her court, she's saying, look, we're going to maintain public confidence, and I'm getting off this case. And who knows, it could just be a convenient way to get off of a very long trial, not have to rearrange your current court calendar, because Judge Shukura Ingram has a lot of cases on her calendar right now that would all need to be rearranged. So maybe she's making this decision for the merits of it. But maybe it's a convenient and a great decision to make if you don't want to seat and preside over this trial, if you don't want to inherit this case. So what do you guys think? I think it's interesting that we're already looking for another judge, and we'll see who's assigned probably later today. You guys all take care. Have a good one.